I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about how to strengthen your relationship when you're going through the fertility journey. Many people, sometimes we pull away from our partners. Other times the relationship grows stronger. And as we know, relationships take work. So I wanted to talk about today over some tips to help you, especially if you find yourself struggling, if you're fighting, if you're criticizing each other, if someone has, maybe withdrawn and kind of gone into a hole and not talking, or even if you are communicating well, how do you then deepen your communication, improve your intimacy? And so strategies to help with communication for yourself and your partner. Hey everyone, I'm excited to invite you to a special masterclass where you'll learn how to improve your chances of pregnancy success if you have low AMH and or high FSH. This live masterclass is on Tuesday, June 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Go to Get Pregnant Freebie, that's getpregnantfreebie.com to register, or click on the link in the show notes to register your spot. On this masterclass, you'll learn what you need to know about low AMH and high FSH so that you can get pregnant naturally, how to know which diet will improve low AMH and high FSH so that you can stop wasting time and prepare your body for pregnancy success, why balancing this often overlooked hormone is essential to optimize low AMH and high FSH. Many times we've been told everything is normal and healing opportunities are missed. Space is very limited for this live interactive masterclass. Get your question answered by my team of fertility experts. Register your spot at getpregnantfreebie.com. That's getpregnantfreebie.com, or click on the link in the show notes. Excited to see you there. I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 4 spots available per month to work with us. I would like to invite you and your partner to a Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Call. And this call is for you if you meet at least one of these criteria. You've been trying to get pregnant for at least 2 years. You've been through at least one failed IUI or IVF. This calls for action takers. If you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. If you're seriously considering working with us, go to FabFertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Book a Free Call. That's FabFertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Book a Free Call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. There's a lot of information about which supplements are right for fertility. And like most couples I speak with, you are probably taking a lot of supplements. But are these supplements optimizing or harming your fertility? That's why we recommend professional grade supplements without harmful dyes, fillers, or top allergens so that you can prepare your body in the best way for pregnancy. And as you may know, we take a functional approach to fertility. And while supplements are included in your customized protocols, which are based on testing, they are only part of the equation because there's no pill you can take that will out-supplement the basics, such as poor diet, dysregulated sleep, either moving too much or not enough, and not dealing with chronic stress. So we do recommend basic supplements for both men and women. And these are essential starters that you need to have right now to optimize your preconception health. And I'm excited to offer you a special discount at our Fab Fertile store. You'll receive 15% discount on our professional grade supplements. So simply go to Fab Fertile Store. That's F-A-B fertilestore.com to access the basic supplements so that you can prepare your body for pregnancy success without wasting time and money on supplements that may not be right for you. Go to Fab Fertile Store, that's fabfertilestore.com, and save 15% on your order. Hey there, thanks so much for listening to the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast. And I've got a favor to ask you. If you are enjoying learning about the functional approach to fertility, consider going to iTunes and rating and reviewing the podcast. This is how it helps the show reach more people that are struggling with infertility, knowing that there's another approach that really can get to the bottom of why it's not working in the first place. So all you need to do is, if you're on the app or the desktop, just go in and consider leaving a 5-star rating and leave a review. And there is step-by-step instructions in the show notes showing you exactly how to do that. So if you can just take a few minutes, just take the few minutes right now. You can pause this recording, come back, leave the review. It would really mean the world to me and help others that are on the fertility journey as well. Take care. I didn't need to go to donor eggs. Obviously, I don't regret it. I have beautiful children. I could have done things differently, restored. I was still cycling back in my 20s. I could have looked at my health, the environmental toxins, the stress I was under,
Many, many women are being told their eggs are too old. That's often merely an assumption that's not based on actual evidence. The reason being that there is no direct test of egg quality. You can't test egg quality.
It's the man who's got a food sensitivity or he has a zinc deficiency.
Like there can be a root cause to these symptoms that are, quote unquote, period problems, that the doctor will pass you a pill without any question of why.
And some part of you knows that if you can reframe your journey from not want to struggle, or if it is struggle, learn how to embrace the struggle. Learn how to embrace it.
Most conditions in the child occur during the 9 months of development. It's the genetic switches are turned on or turned off, and they're pre-programmed. So you are in such a powerful, amazing position to do amazing things for your kids.
Why is IVF the first step? Because we believe it should be the last step. Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey there, I'm Sarah Clark, founder of Fab Fertile and your host. I believe the functional approach is the first step for anyone struggling with infertility, and my aim is to help you get pregnant naturally. Today, I'm welcoming Dr. Sarah Rattray to the podcast, and we're digging into how to improve your relationship during the fertility journey. Dr. Sarah Rattray is a leading couples psychologist for over 30 years, the founder and CEO of the Couples Communication Institute, which is dedicated to helping couples achieve lasting closeness and intimacy through effective communication. Thanks so much for listening. I'm so thankful that you're here. Make sure you hit subscribe. And if you know someone else who is on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. Hey, Dr. Rattray, excited to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Sarah. I can't wait.
Yeah. So if you could share your journey, really how you came to do this work. I know you've been doing it for most of your career. So how did you start with this?
Well, back in college, when I first got to college, I was super interested. I just happened to take the Psych 101 class. It was really popular with freshmen. And I was really interested in the social psychology of how people like each other. And it just kept interesting me and pulling me forward one step after another. And in addition, I was really taken with Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the way the different stages of that pyramid build on each other till you reach self-actualization. And so my career I've been a couples psychologist for more than 30 years. And my career is really all about helping couples how to, have them like each other, but also not only self-actualization, but sort of relationship actualization or couple actualization. And so that's all come together for me, like I said, for more than 30 years.
I love it. Yeah. So we obviously coach couples here in our couples coaching program, and wanted to dig into some questions here with you because, obviously when you're in the middle of a struggle, sometimes it brings couples together on the fertility journey. Other times it tears people apart. So, depending on where people are, on the spectrum of that. And so wanted to give people some strategies and first of all, know they're not alone. Because I think many times when you're in the middle of a struggle, and this could be going on for years and years as couples are trying, and you may feel distant, you may be fighting, you may maybe not even, forgetting how you were intimate before. It becomes all about baby making as opposed to love making. I wanted to talk about the premise. I guess a lot of your work has been based on the Gottman therapy model. Can you just talk about what that is?
John Gottman has been a relationship researcher for more than 40 years now. And what's really groundbreaking about him is that he took the point of view of a scientist and really wanted to answer the question, what makes the difference between what he called the masters and the disasters of relationships? So he studied couples over many, many years by having them come into his lab. He would have them talk to each other. He measured their physiology. He looked at their facial expressions, lots and lots of measurement. And then, as I said, following them over years and seeing who stayed together and thrived and were happy together, and who split up or were together and miserable. And then he really was able to see what are the ingredients that are required in a good relationship and what are the ingredients that really tear a relationship apart. And then what happened after studying couples for 20 years, he and his wife, Julie Schwartz-Gottman, began to help therapists to help couples. And he also began writing books for couples. So I was so fortunate to be here in Seattle at the time he was introducing his work to the therapist community. And I was able to be part of the very first small group of therapists that the Gottmans trained in their method and built the Gottman Institute around. So that's just sort of the introduction of the beginning of the Gottman Institute.
Amazing. And so let's kind of go into I guess there's a model that they have. I think many people in relationships, potentially the first one we have is criticism, and you can get caught. I know sometimes I get caught in this one where the criticism piece, and all you find yourself doing is nagging all day long. And then so we'll talk about each one of these. There's 4 of them. And then the antidote to that, and really how do we, if we're finding ourselves going down that nagging, criticizing road with our partner, how do we then break the cycle?
Yes. So what you're referring to is John Gottman identified what he calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And these are 4 things that really are harmful to a relationship. So the first one, as you mentioned, is criticism. And here's one of the ways, like you mentioned, Sarah, that in the couples that you work with, through their struggles, some people grow closer. Some people just push each other farther and farther apart in their struggle. Mm-hmm. So when you are having a struggle, when something doesn't sit well with you, you have to tell your partner, this doesn't feel right to me. You have every right to do that. It's important to do that. And if you're struggling, with fertility and sex is taking on different meanings and everything, you need to share your feelings with your partner. But there's a big difference that John Gottman did such a good distinguishing between, complaining or sharing versus criticizing. Mm-hmm. So a criticism is talking about a problem as if it is the fault of your partner. So let's say, just a simple example, your partner left dishes on the counter instead of putting them in the dishwasher. A complaint would be, I'm uncomfortable with the dishes on the counter. A criticism would be, you're so lazy. You never put things away. So it's things like the always and never words and the you are and you did and blaming. So criticism is about blaming and finding fault with your partner. Now, the antidote is what they call gentle startup. And I really go into this in depth in my course for couples on how to tell your partner what you want, how you're feeling, what you need. And so the antidote to criticism is starting out with figuring out the one thing that's bothering you, getting really narrow and kind of objective about it. So objectively, what's happening? That when you see dishes on the counter, that's objective. There's no blame there. The second part is, how do you feel about it? I feel uncomfortable or dirty or put out or taken advantage of, or I don't know what, but I have a feeling about it. There's something that I want done. There's a request that I want to make. And when you're thinking about all of these things, here's something that I want to share that, it's part of the antidote to these 4 horsemen, but it's also a cornerstone of a strong relationship, getting closer with your partner. It's thinking to yourself, what do you appreciate about your partner in relation to what you want to bring up? So let's say I have a kitchen complaint or a chore complaint. Are there things that I appreciate about my partner? Like maybe they always, at least they bring their dishes into the kitchen. They don't leave them in the living room. I can be appreciative of that. Or maybe they're always emptying the garbage. I don't ever have to take that out. So in the realm of what I'm thinking of, am I appreciative for? Now, when you talk to your partner about this, you're going to lead with the appreciation. Going back to criticism, when I lead with criticism, and the Gottmans call that harsh startup. So like, Sarah, if you and I live together and I walk in the room and I'm like, Sarah, why do you always leave your dishes on the counter? You're so lazy. Bam! It's a harsh startup. I've just come and attacked you. What happens in your body? You head into fight or flight. Mm-hmm. It's all downhill from there. Too late. It doesn't matter what comes next. I have just launched, an arrow right at you, hit you bullseye, game over. If I start with an appreciation, it's completely different. I'm starting gently. I'm starting with warmth. I'm starting with connection. Hey, Sarah, I was thinking about it, and I really am appreciative of the way you always take out the garbage. Like you realize when it's getting full, and you always know when it's about to be garbage pickup day outside. It's just something that I don't have to take care of because you're so reliable, and I really appreciate that about you. So opening up with that, I'm connecting with you. Then I'm going to say, can we talk about this thing? And I go into this in much greater depth in my course, how to begin the conversation, even more detailed than this. But anyway, then I'm going to say, when I see dishes on the counter instead of the dishwasher, I feel defeated. And I was wondering, could we have a discussion about, what's behind that for you? And if you'd be willing to put them in the dishwasher instead. So that's kind of a long answer, but that's what the first horseman criticism is. And that's the first antidote.
And it is those small things, right? It is the kitchen, the garbage, those small things that can then lead to these things where you end up calling your partner names and things like that. And not that I do that. I've been married for 25 years and 25 years coming in June. And we have a kind of a little back and forth banter that we, like to kind of rib each other. But, there's no calling names or any of that stuff in my house. But yeah, there is, I do have a tendency to be like, okay, maybe the dishes. And so it is to kind of, I think it is also an awareness on yourself to see that you're doing that, to be able to go, wait a minute, take a breath and stop. And then as you say those questions, and otherwise you do find yourself on automatic pilot, kind of like poking away at something.
Well, there's two kinds of awareness, Sarah, and awareness is a great word. The first is, what are you walking around being aware of? And when you start to think about what you appreciate about your partner every day, your awareness turns towards seeking out the positives. If I leave my awareness on what irritates me, I'm looking around, his socks are on the floor. Left the coffee cup out. Oh my God, look at the shoes that are jumbled around. Or see, he forgot to call me on his way home again. Like all I'm noticing is a negative. When I'm noticing the positive, and then I make an effort to say that out loud, just what am I taking in? What am I noticing in my environment? That's one kind of awareness. The second kind of awareness is to be aware I'm bubbling up with an irritation or something that I'm unhappy about, taking some time to not say a single word until I think through in my mind, what is going on? What do I want to say? In my course, I actually have a worksheet to help you think through in your mind before you say anything, so that when you do talk, it is as warm and connecting as possible.
Put yourself in timeout. Yeah. And so the next one would be contempt.
And the next one is defensiveness.
Oh, okay. I had, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So they're actually in order that way because defensiveness is a super common normal response to criticism. So, if you walked into me and you said, hey, Sarah, how come you always, leave your tissues all over the floor? I'm naturally going to be defensive. Either I'm going to be denial, I do not, or I might attack back in defensiveness. Oh, yeah, well, you never put your stuff in the dishwasher. You can also be kind of in a state of defensiveness when our relationship isn't going very well, when we are doing that snipping and picking at each other all the time. I might kind of have this overarching attitude of defensiveness. Now, the antidote to defensiveness is really actually pretty lovely and powerful, and it is taking responsibility for what you did. Now, remembering the way criticism can trigger fight or flight, your partner's defensiveness perpetuates that fight or flight. If you say to me, Sarah, you always leave your tissues all over the floor. If I say I do not, and you know full well that I absolutely do, now your blood pressure is going to start to rise. You're going to be irritated. Like then we're like, yes, you do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. So unpleasant. So taking responsibility takes some inner strength and, the motivation to always be doing the best for our relationship. And what can you take responsibility for that you believe is true? So let's say you say to me, Sarah, you always leave your tissues all over the floor. I might know and be willing to admit that I leave my tissues all over the desk. I might not really think that I leave them on the floor. So can I say to you, you know what, Sarah, you are right. I leave my dirty tissues on the desk, and come to think of it, I don't have a garbage on my desk near my desk, and I'm always leaving them on the desk. You are right, Sarah. You're right. That's something that I do. And then we can talk further about, gosh, how do you feel about that? I'm sorry. Is there anything we can do? But think about it, Sarah. Let's say you came to me, even if you're in a bad mood and didn't say it well. How come you're so messy, you leave your tissues everywhere? If I say to you, you're right, I leave my tissues all over my desk. Think to yourself, how would you feel? Would you feel like fighting with me more? Or would you feel kind of settled down?
Yeah, exactly. It's that taking responsibility or just acknowledging what it is you've said. Because I think many times it's like, and that never and always kind of piece where if you're coming at someone and you're stuck in these patterns, I guess, of someone coming after someone else. And then instead of acknowledging it and stepping back, and then that escalates into the fighting scene.
Absolutely. The pattern just keeps going. Mm-hmm. That one of us is critical and the other defends. And then we're going to just go bing, bang, back and forth, back and forth. So the antidote to defensiveness is to take responsibility. And again, it's responsibility in a way that I feel is true. This is not the same as acting like a rug that can be walked on. Right. You're right, Sarah. I'm a mess. I'm a slob. I never do anything right. No. I'm going to admit to what is true for me. Can I look around and say, yes, Sarah, you're right. I fully admit I leave tissues on my desk. So, and so especially with the always or never, if you criticize me, you always leave your tissues everywhere. No, I'm not going to own that. Yeah. But I do own that I leave tissues on my desk sometimes. Mm-hmm. But even if you hear that, you're going to feel like, oh, she's taking responsibility. She admitted it. Like, we're not fighting. And now we can, warmly and gently talk about, what do we want to do about this? I didn't realize it bothered you. Or, I don't have a garbage, or whatever it is. So now let's go to the third one, unless you have any other questions about
go for it.
So the third one, Sarah, the third one is contempt. And Gottman very colorfully calls contempt sulfuric acid for love. It is corrosive. Contempt is acting as if you are better than the other person. You know better, or your way is right way and their way is the wrong way, or you're the smart one and they're the dumb one. You're the one who knows the best thing and your partner is the idiot. And it's too bad we're not doing this on video, because it also comes with two facial expressions a lot of the time. It comes with a great big eye roll, and it comes with a lift of your upper lip on one corner, like underneath your nostril. And it's like a sneer. So an example that I use is, truly, I will admit, I used to have dishwasher contempt. And so if you could imagine, if I were to say to you, if I were to gesture toward the dishwasher saying to you about my partner, if I said to you, look at how he loaded the dishwasher, you're laughing because you can picture me. You can picture me rolling my eye and raising my lip in this disgust expression. And what I'm intimating, how How does it sound to you, Sarah, that I'm feeling about my partner when I say, look at how he emptied the dishwasher? How would you say I feel about him?
Yeah, exactly. You're thinking that he's doing a poor job. The dishwasher is like
not a poor job. That's too weak. You would never think, gosh, Sarah thinks he's doing a poor job. More strongly, what do you think I'm thinking?
As you said, he's an idiot.
He's an idiot. And that's the energy of contempt. And when one person is the object of contempt, they absolutely know it. And they're going to say something like, stop talking down to me. Stop treating me like an idiot. Stop patronizing me. Stop acting like you're my mother. Stop acting like you know everything. If you are in a relationship and you've ever said any of those things, or your partner has ever said any of those things to you, that's contempt. Now, what contempt is in a structural way, in the structured relationship, it's a one up to a one down position. Again, I know, so I'm one up, you don't know, you're one down. And what's a little tricky in realizing that you're being contemptuous is that you might actually think that you have some sort of superior expertise and that you're entitled to share it with your partner. But when it's done contemptuously, your partner will feel that. They won't be grateful. Like, wow, that's cool. Like, Sarah, you and I could be sharing tips for, the best nutrition to help with a certain condition. And I feel like, wow, that's really great. Thanks, Sarah. But if you said it to me like, Sarah, you really should be eating a lot more spinach, I'm going to be like, wow, she's really, talking down to me. So anyway, so it can be tricky to realize when you're being contemptuous because you might think you're just sharing your knowledge, but there's a little twist to it. There's a dig to it. So I'm going to talk about the antidote in just a moment, but I just wanted to wait a moment and see if you had any questions or thoughts about contempt itself.
Yeah, I think that just with the dishwasher thing, I was going to say there's a lot of, there's usually in one partner feels that, just as a dishwasher example, feels they are the expert dishwasher loader. And in my family, it would be my husband. I go in there, toss it all in, don't really care. He comes in and organizes the whole thing and it's got to be done his way. It's interesting though, to look at a couple which one is like the dishwasher expert. But anyways, but yeah, go on to the next one.
So, well, not the next one. So now we're going to go on to the antidote and we're going to talk about when you toss it in there and he does it his way. He is implying that he is the expert and his way is the right way. And this is where couples really can get into trouble. And I think it's many, 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 many fights and arguments is my way is the right way. And so we're going to talk about something. Let's say I say to you, Sarah, how about let's go out for Chinese today? If you say, no, that's not a good idea. You're like, it's just like, it's the wrong way. Now here, well, first of all, one of the antidotes is a culture of appreciation. So remember earlier I was talking about being appreciative of your partner and who they are. When you just look at the world appreciatively all the time, even if your partner loads the dishwasher in a quote unquote way that you don't like, you still appreciate them as a human being. And you can see it with more fondness and humor and not feel like they must be an idiot. And, so if I know that dishwashers aren't your thing and I come and I see where you put the cup, if we have a culture of appreciation between the two of us, I'll be thinking, oh, Sarah must have been in a rush. She just plunked that in your place. That's her. But she was probably thinking about helping her clients. Like she's so awesome that way. But now here's what I really want to talk about, a deeper antidote to contempt that is so much more powerful than just talking about contempt. And in fact, one of my upcoming courses is going to be talking exclusively about this next piece. When it comes to our differences, we have, and often we're not aware of it, we have values associated with our quote unquote right way. So the way that I load the dishwasher, the way that your husband loads the dishwasher is actually built on a value or a belief that we have. And when we can start to be curious and open and interested and ask each other and share with each other, what are our beliefs and values underlying the way we choose to do things? That's where our struggles can shift and we can become closer and closer rather than pushing each other farther apart in the face of these struggles. So here's how I see my dishwasher contempt. You want me to share this with you?
Sure.
So truly, literally, actually, when I was a kid, my parents subscribed to Consumer Reports magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and I, they would get it every month. And it was my favorite piece of mail. I was a kid. I loved reading the articles start to finish. I didn't care about the products as much as the process they went through in evaluating them. So when it came to things like dishwashers, they had this rubric of ultimate cleanliness. So, they had a rubric of other things, energy use and noise, but most especially, their rubric for measuring dishwasher quality was ultimate cleanliness. And they taught this method of facing everything towards the center to take advantage of the centrifugal force of the water and the structure of the dishwashers. So here I am thinking I'm so smart and I'm so knowledgeable because I know, quote unquote, the right way to do a thing because I learned it in Consumer Reports magazine. And then I read my owner's manual and I had my first dishwasher. But guess what? That's not the only value when it comes to loading a dishwasher. It literally is not the only value. So over the years, I've used this example with couple after couple, and I've asked them, what are some possible other values when it comes to loading a dishwasher? So one value, for example, is ease of loading it. Just, I want it to be easy. Or another value might be grouping things together so that when I take them out, it's easy to grab them and put them away. Another value might be fitting in as many things as humanly possible so that we can run it less frequently and use less water. Here's another value that might appeal to you. Not spending time managing the inside of the dishwasher, just getting the stuff in there so I can go and join my family and relax.
That's mine. Stuff it in there.
Yours.
Let's go. And the appreciation piece is my husband loves to organize things like that. He's better at getting all of the things in, and he doesn't complain if I whip it in there. He just will organize it. So it just works out that I appreciate that he's better at that, and we all move on.
That's so lovely. That's so lovely. Now, here's what you can do if you're stuck, if you weren't appreciative of each other, to become curious. What is the value or belief that you have behind this disagreement that we have? And then how can you support each other and see the good in each person's value? So if your husband said, I want everything to fit, or I want everything to get clean, you would appreciate that. You would say, yeah, that's a great value. I want you to have that sort of dishwasher experience. If you said to him, I don't want to spend my precious evening hours micromanaging the dishwasher. I want to get done and spend time with you. He can see how lovely that is. He can say, I support that. I want you to not feel the drudgery, and extra time like wasted on something and to spend time with me. Like, I love that. And then here's the magic, Sarah. What can the two of us do as a partnership so that I can honor your dream, you can honor my dream, and we can come together creatively, and problem solve this together. So your creative solution that evolved over time is you just put the stuff in there and he comes along behind you and rearranges it. You already organically figured that out over the years, but that's how you can, going back to what you started our interview, our talk with today, is the couples who struggle and get closer versus the couples who struggle and get further apart. So we can say, wow, we have a dishwasher conflict that keeps coming up. Let's really sit down and talk about it in this open way. Now it evolves into this appreciative teamwork.
And then the last one that you have?
The last one is stonewalling, and that's the kind of freeze part of fight, flight, or freeze. It's shutting down when your partner is trying to probably criticize you or is being contemptuous, rather than speaking up and saying, please don't talk to me that way, or this doesn't feel good. It's this shutting down. And people tend to shut down when they really go into fight or flight and they're unable to comfortably process and think through what to say that could come out nicely. Like they're just shut down. Either they have no idea what to say, Usually they're quite triggered, but also they just might not know what to say that would come out nice. So they say nothing, they shut down. And the antidote to this is also, again, an overarching benefit, value for relationships. The antidote is to take a break and calm down and relax to get out of that stonewalling. So if you know you're shut down, your eyes are glazed over, or if you see your partner shutting down and not responding, you know what, honey, let's take a break for 15 or 20 minutes. Let's each do something relaxing and let's come back together when we're both calm. So that is stonewalling, and that shows the power of relaxing and talking when you're both calm.
Because that one can get stuck in quite a pattern of many arguments then relate to someone who keeps going, criticizing. The other person will just stop saying anything and then
stop saying anything.
Yeah.
And the first person just is going. And you're not saying anything. Well, you can't even, I'm not saying anything because I'm in fight or flight and I can't handle this.
Mm-hmm.
This is that I am feeling in danger.
And the antidote to that, then, as you said, they're just withdrawing to avoid it and come back later.
Well, it's not withdrawing to avoid it. It's saying, if you possibly can, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm in fight or flight. I'm unable to profitably sit here. I'm going to go relax my body actively. Let's come back and talk when we're both calm. So it's not an avoidance. It's not an escape. It's a reset of physiology. And, to my mind, the bigger antidote is doing some healthy relationship communication skills building so that one person isn't attacking and shutting down the other person.
And so the big question, how do we stop fighting with our partner? And what's your number one tip there?
My number one tip to stop fighting if we're already fighting is that awareness you mentioned earlier. As soon as either of us becomes aware that we're fighting, the best thing for either of us to do is to say, I need to take a break. Let's stop. Let's go each of us go in a separate room. Let's calm down and relax, lower our heart rate, get out of fight or flight, get back into that parasympathetic rest and digest state, and let's talk together when we're calm. So that's how to stop fighting once we're in it. And in order to set that up, like if you're listening to this conversation today, before you can implement that with your partner, you want to share this with your partner that you're learning this. Say, hey, I heard today about taking a break instead of continuing to fight, instead of escalating. What do you think? Can we set that up? Can we agree that we'll do that if we get into a fight in the future? You want to have that already set up between the two of you as an agreement ahead of time. And then to stop fighting in terms of preventing fighting, the things that I've already shared with you, approaching conversations relaxed, being appreciative of your partner in sort of the general culture and the general attitude between the two of you, and also beginning conversations with appreciation, being really open and curious about each other's beliefs or values or dreams that might be behind issues you're talking about. Those are all styles of communication that would help prevent you from getting into a fight to begin with.
And then in this case, being able to reconnect. So if we're in the middle of a struggle, it's, this is a lot of grief and frustration and impatience and uncertainty. And, sometimes someone will withdraw, everyone will handle it differently. So how do we then, if we've lost the connection with our partner, how do we reconnect when we're in the middle of a struggle?
So it sounds like you're talking about
fertility,
a big picture struggle, not we struggled today earlier.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is to begin by asking your partner, can we have a conversation about reconnecting and how we're struggling together right now? So to say something like, again, the model that we started out with, the antidote to criticism model of conversation applies here. So let's say, for example, Sarah, I really appreciate how you're in this with me. We're trying to have a baby. You're really in this with me. I really appreciate that we're sticking this out together. You're my teammate. And so I'm starting with that appreciation. Then I'm going to share with you objectively what doesn't feel good and how I feel about it. However, it feels like we're at odds with each other. It feels like we're not as connected as we used to be. So I'm sharing that kind of sort of objectively. Like I can add some objective details, like we don't talk as much as we used to, or we're not spending happy time together as much as we used to. What can I say that's kind of objective? And then how do I feel about it? I'm feeling kind of lonely, or I'm feeling sad, or I really miss you. Then what I want to request is, can we sit down? Not this moment when I'm talking to you, not this moment, but can we find a time? Can we set up and reserve a time where we can sit together and talk about how we can reconnect and get closer again? I remember how close we used to be, and that felt so great. I particularly remember how we were feeling back when we were living in that other apartment, in that other neighborhood. We were so close. I want to feel that way again. When can we set aside time to talk about how we're going to get started on that journey? So the beginning answer to your question about how to reconnect is to bring it up, to say, I want to talk about it. And when you introduce it this way, you're not setting your partner up to be surprised or startled. So if I walked in, I said, you know what, Sarah, I'm really lonely after all this time. Our relationship sucks. Did I just enlist you as a partner on reconnecting? No way. I just pushed you farther apart. So, by setting it up in a lovely, warm way, and when can we find a time to sit down and talk, you'll be thinking about it and I'll be thinking about it. And then we'll come together from a much better space. So go on. What were you going to ask?
And what if there's resistance from one partner, kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to sit down. Maybe she's going to attack me, or he's going to withdraw, or, or vice versa. Like what if there's, like, obviously there could be wounds there. So how?
Yes. So remember when I was talking about the antidote to criticism, that you want to think about the one thing that you want to talk about. And my beginning example was the dishes on the counter. In this case, you're going to choose a series of these one focus conversations. And I really talk about this in my course, is one focus at a time. Might be you mentioned you don't want to do this because you're afraid I'm going to criticize you. Can we sit down and can we set up a time to talk about your fear that I will criticize you? That's really important to me. I'm so glad that you let me know you're afraid I'm going to criticize you. Can we sit down and talk about that? And then if you say, yeah, but I don't want to talk about that because I'm afraid of this other thing. Okay. Can we set aside time to talk about, so whatever the objection is, let's address it. You're absolutely right. If you're afraid I'm going to criticize you, we can't talk about reconnecting until we talk about your fear that I'm going to criticize you, or whatever it is. So when one person has an objection or an avoidance in that way, bring that up. So for example, we could, let's say I asked you to have a conversation to reconnect and you avoided it. Maybe in a few days, I'm going to start with a new appreciation. And I'm going to say, when I asked to talk to you the other day, I noticed that you didn't seem to want to, and it made me feel like, I don't know, however I felt about that. Can we discuss what might be up with you not wanting to have that conversation? Can we set time aside so I can really listen and hear you? And I want to talk about the listening, but whatever the barrier that comes up, let's bring that up as the topic of conversation until we get down to the meat of it, where the other person says, yeah, I think that would be helpful to talk about. And then we build our way back up.
To really piece it apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as sharing life dreams together, especially in the middle of the struggle, you could feel that, some of your dreams, like at this stage, we're focused on having our child. So then other dreams kind of get stuck on hold, and people just feel stuck while everyone else is moving, like seemingly moving on with their lives. So how do we have these conversations of life dreams and when we're in the middle of a struggle?
Well, I want to expand my answer to address the life dreams question, but also to kind of keep going about reconnection. In general, when you really want to connect with your partner, whether it's about struggling or dreams, you want to, agree to have a kind of conversation together where one at a time, one person has the chance to be what's called the speaker, and the listener is listening with the goal of understanding the speaker from the speaker's perspective, so they really can paint a full picture of what's going on, and that the listener is not listening with the intent to respond or reply or retort or debate or challenge or disagree. Let's say you said, I'm all for working on a baby, but I really wanted to restart my painting hobby. I'm going to ask you questions to learn more about your painting hobby because I just want to hear what's in your mind. Tell me more. Where did this come from? And I'm going to be doing a couple of things. I'm going to repeat back what I'm hearing you say to make sure I'm not mishearing or misinterpreting. And I'm going to be validating what I'm hearing from you. Mm-hmm. And what validating means is what you're telling me, does it make sense to me from your perspective, given who you are? So let's say you say, I want to restart my painting hobby. I've always wanted to do it. And, it just means a lot to me. If I hate painting, that has nothing to do with this conversation right now. You're the speaker. So my job is to validate and say, you know what, Sarah, that makes sense. You've always shared with me how much you miss painting. We have your old paintings from college up on the wall. I know how much you miss it. It sure makes sense to me that you want to explore this dream. So that's what it's like to listen so that you can hear your partner's perspective from your partner's point of view if you were in their shoes. What I feel about it has nothing to do with it at first. I'm not going to say, well, painting's a waste of time, or that's stupid, or we don't have the room, or why would you want to, or can't you wait? That has nothing to do with it. And when we listen in a way that we're letting, that we're validating, that we're letting our partner know that we see them, we understand them, we hear them, and we support them, that reconnects each other, and that helps us to honor and share our dreams together. Like, wow, Sarah, I really hear how important it is that you re-explore this painting, hobby. Let's talk about it some more. Now, we're not going to start diving into problem solving right away, but can I say to you, painting means a lot to you. I want to find a way to support you because I can see from what you're sharing with me how valuable it is to you. You deserve to have something that means a lot to you like this.
And what about joint dreams then, of the two of you together?
Well, dreams, my dream might be about you, or my dream might be about me. So are you asking me joint dreams, like I have a dream for us, or that we have a dream together?
Yeah, like my husband and I I love doing this, talking to him, but like, oh, we're going to have some travel, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Love having those conversations. So we kind of like see where we'll be in 5 years and what's going to happen. And we just like love talking about stuff, and it just connects us, and we keep, focus on, then you break it down. So for us, that, I don't know, those are like really fun conversations. I think sometimes people maybe stop having those.
Yes. A tip is, and it applies for this and other situations as well, to if you want to talk about this, to let your partner know your goal in this conversation and what you want from them, what you're hoping for and expecting from them. So if I were to say to you, hey, Sarah, I want to talk about like the travel we could imagine doing next summer. And I want to have this conversation in that really fun way that we do sometimes. I want to just let our imaginations go wild. I want to like just fantasize and just play. I really don't want to be practical. That's the kind of conversation I want to have with you right now. When we bring that up first, that can really open up a couple's ability to have that sort of a dream. It would be really different than, Sarah, I want to talk about where we're going to go next week and which hotel we're staying at and who's making the reservations and how much they're going to cost. That's a totally different talk about travel, and it's going to have a very different feel. Like we need to apportion the chores for who's going to do what so that we can go, to the lake this week. Very, very different conversation. So again, pick one topic and let your partner know exactly what you want. Hey, honey, I want to have one of those fun talks where we imagine where we might want to go. When's a good time that you have good energy and I have good energy where we can just sit down and, paint pictures of all the places on the earth we want to go. And that way, like if I'm rushing to meet a deadline, I'm not going to say, yeah, let's do that in 5 minutes. No, I'm going to say, how about Saturday afternoon? I would love to spend an hour Saturday afternoon having fun with you. Do you know what I mean, Sarah, about understanding what we're going to talk about and then setting time aside for that?
Right. And I guess also because we're in the middle of the fertility journey here, that future focus thing could probably be triggering. So that it might be hard for people to even get there. So maybe this question was not appropriate that I asked. So, but it is I think there's still, if we put joy on hold, right? And so we're not able to appreciate some of these things. And then we get stuck in the struggle of it. And
so I want to jump right in there, Sarah, because if a conversation about fun is triggering, then again, let's back that up and have a different conversation. Mm-hmm. Honey, I want to have a conversation with you about fun, but I notice that sometimes one or both of us gets triggered. Can we have a conversation about how to talk about something fun without triggering each other? Can we set up a conversation so we can explore this triggering thing that gets in our way of talking about fun? So you do that first. And if I say, yeah, I am triggered because you're asking me about a vacation, but I'm hoping to be pregnant next summer and it's really hard to talk about, then great. Well, then let's say, so what would be fun? Would it be more fun to talk about, is there a vacation we might want to imagine when pregnant versus a vacation when we imagine a 2-year-old? Like, how can we make it fun without triggering it? Mm-hmm. So that's completely legitimate, Sarah, but I wouldn't want to back away. Oh, we can't talk about it because it might trigger something. Instead, I notice it could trigger something. So let's talk about how to still have a fun conversation and take care of each other if we get triggered.
And I think that's what happens, right? Is the triggering, and then we kind of run from it, and then we're waiting for joy to happen when instead of having it now, and then that'll help us with our mindset and how with that fight or flight side of things.
Yeah.
And so you have got a free gift here for it's a quiz that the listeners can go to, and I'll have the link in the show notes. And so what can they expect when they take that quiz?
So the quiz is about your communication resilience, with all the stress of fertility, but also the stress of COVID and everything. What's the state of your communication between the two of you? And then you'll get your, a score and results personalized for the level of communication resilience in your relationship. And then you do get a great gift. It's a beautiful 8-page guide where I don't talk about the 4 horsemen at all, but I do talk about a lot of the pieces that I've shared today about how to set up a conversation so that it's safe and calm. That's the focus of this guide. So you'll hear more than I said in our conversation today about just the simple practical steps into setting up a good conversation.
Wonderful. And do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Reach out. If you need more support, reach out. Don't struggle if you feel like you just don't even have the skills to be connecting. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of strength and growth. And it's an investment in your relationship to turn to each other and say, I want to feel more connected with you, and I simply don't know how. So I have a great course that's a wonderful thing that you can do together at home in the privacy of your own home. There are books. For example, John Gottman has written many books, and there is couples therapy. I have worked with many, many couples who are grateful and appreciative of therapy and come back every few years when something new comes up so that they can always stay ahead of it, where it's a chance to really what you want to do is know how to connect with your partner, and that will keep you getting closer with each other with your struggles rather than pushing yourselves farther apart.
I love it. Great. Well, thanks for all the information, Dr. Sarah, for coming on, all the work that you're doing with couples and your courses as well. So definitely check out the Couples Communication Institute. She's got a lot of information there to check out, and I'll have the link for the quiz in the show notes. So thanks again, Dr. Sarah.
You're welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me on. And I just really am so appreciative for all the work you're doing for couples out there.
Hey there, excited to invite you to a special masterclass where you'll learn how to improve your chances of pregnancy success if you have low AMH and or high FSH. This live masterclass is on Tuesday, June 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Go to getpregnantfreebie.com. That's getpregnantfreebie.com to register, or click on the link in the show notes to register your spot. Space is very limited. I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 4 spots available per month to work with us. I would like to invite you and your partner to a Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery Call. And this call is for you if you meet at least one of these criteria. You've been trying to get pregnant for at least 2 years. You've been through at least one failed IUI or IVF. This calls for action takers. If you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. If you're seriously considering working with us, go to FabFertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Book a Free Call. That's FabFertile, F-A-B Fertile, and click on Book a Free Call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. You may be taking supplements that, instead of optimizing your fertility, may be harming it. That's why we recommend professional-grade supplements without harmful dyes, fillers, or top allergens. Simply go to FabFertile Store, that's F-A-B Fertile Store.com, to receive a 15% discount on our basic supplement recommendations for preconception health. That's FabFertileStore.com. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice, and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.